駐車券をお取りください。はい。Everybody in America who likes to meiwaku chusha, way back in here in Japan, pulling into the front is like considered being a nuisance to people.
And we have our beep beep noise that's only inside the car.
That's right. That's right. Let's see here. So what we're going to do is just go to a few places down in the Naha area, and I wanted to introduce some of you. Some of you are trying to get out to Okinawa, can't do it right now. Some of you just haven't had the opportunity to come to Okinawa, but like to. I imagine if you looked up a lot of this stuff, you'd see it on YouTube, and there's other people that have put stuff to introduce you to some of the historical sites on Okinawa. But we're going to go around to just a few of the sites here on Okinawa and that are significant to the history of karate. And one of them is right here. We're not far from, we're in Naha, and this is the Kume area, or it's also called Kuninda in the Okinawan, older Okinawan language. Ooh, it's slick. Be really careful. And right here is where the Chinese enclave of Okinawa would have been during the Ryukyu Kingdom era, during the Ryukyu era of Okinawan history. So we're talking 1400s into the 1800s. But you would have had in this area right here, excuse me, my mask is fogging up my glasses. In this area right here is where the 36 Chinese families, so-called, would have come here and lived in this part of Naha. And of course, at the time, the Ryukyu Kingdom was a tributary state of China, which means that they would get in tribute boats here in Naha, and they would float out across the East China Sea, and they would go to China down, and then they would make their way to Beijing, and they would offer tribute to China. And China was seen as, of course, the word Chugoku, China, means center kingdom. And that was kind of the center of culture, of learning, of literature, but also martial arts. And so when we talk about the roots of Okinawa, modern, what we understand Okinawan karate to be today, it's really the merging of the indigenous fighting art, or Ti, with Chinese influence that really, in many ways, you could say, originated from this area here, where interaction with Okinawan trade interests and port people who worked in the port, but also not far from here is Shuri Castle, where the kingdom, the king, and would have been with all of his royal attendants. And so right here, really, you can say what we know as karate, or maybe what would have been called back then todi, originated from. So it's kind of a neat place here. We're going to go right over here. There's a statue of for a lot of Goju-ryu people. If you have any Goju-ryu people, we've got Higon Kandyo's castle here, or not castle, monument here, and Miyagi Chojun. So right here you can see, looks like a little painting here. Looks like it could have been pulled from the Bubishi. I don't actually know. But up there, it's Higa Onna Kandyo and Miyagi Chojun. So if you're kind of a Nahate Goju-ryu person, then this is significant for you. I think on the back side there's some other stuff. Okay. So I won't go into all the reading, but the bottom line is there's a quick history. It's an abbreviated history of Higaonna Kandyo Sensei and Miyagi Chojun Sensei just memorializing their contribution here to Okinawan karate, and specifically, of course, that's where Goju Ryu comes from. So kind of a neat place to be. Next, there's another monument just over there where the 36 families are kind of remembered, and we'll walk over there now and talk about that for a minute. It is January, by the way. Right? So this is the monument for the 36 families, and it's said that 36 families came from China and settled here in Kumemura, and they became kind of the center of the Chinese community here on Okinawa. I don't know this for a fact, but this looks like it's in the shape of one of the tribute ships, and of course these ships would have been loaded up with goods from Okinawa. And they would have taken these goods over. The tribute system was kind of a trade system where you would take goods from that location, go out to China, and offer those up to the dynasty, the dynastic leaders there. And then, of course, you could come back with goods from China to bring them back into Okinawa. And you can imagine these ships are just filled with valuable stuff. You hear stories like Tori Sakugawa. At the time, piracy was also a big deal, and of course typhoons come through this area all the time. The seas are kind of rough, and so you hear stories about these Okinawan karate masters who would go out on ships and they'd get shipwrecked, and they'd fight their way through against the pirates, and then get shipwrecked in some island or end up in China, and they'd train for a few years in China and then come back. And you can just imagine all of the exchange and trade that happened between this small island and southern China from this area. So it's kind of fun to sit here and see it. The other thing I'd like to say is, there's this little garden right here, and this sign. There's marigolds and all these flowers. There's just an organization that's the management committee of the city of Naha for this park, and throughout Okinawa and really throughout Japan, you have these little places like this where it's just this small little area. We're surrounded by buildings and roads. You can hear probably the cars going behind us. But then there's this nice little park right in the middle of the town, and it really is pretty nice. And people come and they maintain it here, and you can see the flowers are blooming. It is January 7th, and we've got flowers out here, so that's kind of fun. You can see here on this monument. Each one of these represents one of these families. I don't know if there was actually 36 mothers and fathers and their children that came over, and I don't actually know a whole lot more detail, but I do understand that these 36 families would have been probably selected to come here and manage the relationship between the Ryukyu Kingdom and the dynasty, and a lot of interaction occurred where emissaries were coming back and forth. The Ryukyu king needed to be kind of recognized by China. That's where the legitimacy came from. There was great competition in Okinawa between the Northern Kingdom, the Central Kingdom, which is where we are now. Shuri Castle is called the Center Mountain, and then the Southern Kingdom down in Nanzan. And so all these different kings were vying for the favor of and recognition of China. And so having this location here, where it was really the center of that Chinese culture, with these families bringing whatever it is they did, whether it was poetry or philosophy or Confucianism or literature of some sort, then these families would have been kind of the center of that learning. And many of the Okinawans that around here spoke Chinese and would have sought Chinese learning as well as Chinese martial arts. And of course the what we would know as Kung Fu or Wushu, Shaolin boxing type arts would have also come into Okinawa and been introduced here in this area as well. So this is the city of Naha here. This is special cooperation from the city of Naha, the Okinawa Kyokai, so the Association of Kume. These are all organizations and maybe individuals who supported this monument being raised. Okay, so this is hilarious. In Okinawa, there are cats everywhere. They're feral, but they're not really. I mean, they're not domestic, but they're not exactly wild either. But people just come out and they put out water, and they'll put out a little bit of tuna fish or something like that, and just set it out, and the cats will come and eat it. And there's cats everywhere. But the Okinawans, they just come out, feed them, put water out, and take care of them, and don't seem to really. They do control the population in terms of they'll cut them and stuff like that, and then release them back out. But it's kind of fun. You see this kind of stuff everywhere here in Okinawa. So there you go. Cats got fed today. Gotta have a coin purse if you're in Okinawa. Something to put your coins in.
So how much was it? Like
$100 yen.
Not bad. Yeah. In Tokyo, that would have been I don't know, probably at least 600 yen. All right, we are off to the next stop. Oh, look at a rat. Did you see that?
No.
There was a rat just ran across the huge thing too.
Probably got it on film.
It was huge.
Now here's the kids doing their PE.
Yeah.
At school on a Saturday. Sensei told me.
Okay.
When the Funakoshi monument used to be right here.
Oh, it used to be here.
Yeah. Oh, great. Those are raindrops.
This has absolutely nothing to do with karate, but we just got out of Family Mart, one of the convenience stores. My children's probably favorite store in Okinawa, maybe next to Daiso. Yeah. Daiso or Okinawa, we're high end that way. This is onigiri, and these are in this or whatever convenience store you go to. It's an onigiri, and what it is, it's a ball of rice with something in it. This one has kombu seaweed in the middle of it, but so the rice is formed around the kombu seaweed, and then on the outside of it is a sheet of seaweed. Now, if you take the sheet of seaweed is dried, and if you take the seaweed and you wrap it around the rice, then the dry seaweed will absorb the moisture of the rice, and the seaweed will turn kind of soggy, and some people don't like it that way. So the packaging is kind of ingenious. You can see there's this cellophane cover on it, and there's 3 numbers. 1, 2, 3. It's absolutely ingenious. And the way you do this is you take your fingers, you hold it here, and there's a little tab right there at number 1. And we're going to pull down at the number 1 all the way around to the back side of the onigiri. So now I have that. Then I'm going to grasp at 2 and 3, and there's actually a wrapper. Now there's the seaweed. There's a plastic wrapper between the seaweed and the rice. So I'm gonna pull this, and you can see there's that inner wrapper, and it's gonna pull it away there, and then we're gonna pull it this way, and we're gonna pull it away there. And now I have my rice ball, now with the seaweed. It's still dry, has not soaked up the moisture of the rice. And you have this nice little crunch on the outside, the rice on the inside. Onigiri. It's our favorite.
I bet it's on there because it's warm.
Yep, that cat. Look at that cat warming up on that lamp.
There you go.
Yep.
And he gets fed well. Clearly gets fed well.
So what we've done now is we've come from over in the Kume area, and we've come down to central Naha, and we're at the Okigu. This is the Okinawa Okigu Shinto shrine, and right at the base of the entrance of the shrine is the monument to Gichin Funakoshi. So we thought we'd come here and just kind of introduce this site to you. We're in the Onoyama Park. The Okinawa Budokan is just off to our right here, and we only came a few miles, and it's not that far away at all. But this is a neat place. This monument says Karate ni sente nashi, which means there's no first hand or first strike in karate. And of course, Gichin Funakoshi was born in about 1860, mid-1860s, 1868, I think. And he was from Shuri, which we're going to go to Shuri next, in the Yamakawa area. Anko Itosu, he trained with Anko Itosu, and in the Shurite lineage of Okinawan karate. He was also a scholar, and at the time, of course, people spoke Uchi-Naguchi, or the Okinawan language, which is similar to Japanese in terms of grammatical structure, but considerably different. I can't understand Uchi-Naguchi. But he spoke very good Japanese, and he was also a scholar. And so as a karate practitioner, he and others were interested in taking this obscure art of Okinawan. At the time it would have been called a number of different things. There was no single term that would have defined karate as we know it as karate. It was called todi, it was called todi jutsu, karate jutsu, kushu. There were a number of different things that it was called, but there was a movement to introduce this art into the public society and the public school system of Japan. And so Gichin Funakoshi began to write about karate. He began to teach karate, organized a few organizations, and eventually established a relationship with Jigoro Shihan, who is the founder of judo. And from there, karate began to develop and to adopt some characteristics that made karate a little more palatable to Japan at that time. It means you needed a ranking system, you needed a uniform, you needed a way to compete, you needed a number of things that made it a martial art that would be acceptable to the Japanese population, to the Japanese as a Japanese art. They also kind of needed to change the name, because at the time todi, which can also be pronounced karate, was written with the characters that we saw over in Kuninda, in Kumemura, the character for China, or Tang Dynasty. And so that character, To, can also be pronounced Kara. And so during that time, as these Okinawan karate pioneers, if you will, debated how to introduce it, how to mainstream Okinawan karate. Well, they did that by making some of these changes, and one of them was to change that first character from To, which can also be pronounced Kara, to what we now know as Kara, or empty hand. Gichin Funakoshi eventually moves to Tokyo and establishes a school there, trains actually with the judo people in the Kodokan, and karate begins to spread pretty rapidly throughout the Japanese society there. And so really Gichin Funakoshi is is one of the founders, the fathers of Okinawan karate, but also really because of his attributes, because of his education, because he could communicate well on the mainland, is really somebody who's seen as a pioneer of spreading Okinawan karate more broadly than it would have been otherwise throughout Japan. So this is kind of a neat place. Okay,
Do you see his ear?
You see his ear. You see his ear is clipped right there, his left ear. So he's been fixed, or she, I don't know. And clearly pretty healthy.
Well fed.
Well fed.
A little bit louder.
All right, it's a little windy up here. We are up at the Sakugawa Park in Shuri now. So we have gone from Naha area, and now we are back over towards Shuri Castle. And here in a minute, we'll show you. But I'm actually looking at Shuri on the next little hill over, and that's where Shuri Castle would be. Whoa! Are?
It went right behind you.
すげえな。どうした？あ、そっか。はい、いいよ。
His string's caught up there in that tree.
ちょっと待って。ちゃんと巻いたらもう大丈夫だよ。ちょっと待って。すごい飛んでるね。すごい。ポケモン？
あ、そう、ポケモン。He's looking at you like, why is this guy speaking fluent Japanese to me? He is confused. どうする？あと飛ばす？あ、走ってきて。ここに行ったらもう、いいよ。全部巻くと、また、解かなきゃいけない。
よっしゃThat's awesome.
How fantastic was that?
Kids out. Oh, you just lost it again. Anyway, so all right, we're back. So Shuri Castle's right over there, and we are at the monument to Sakugawa, Todi Sakugawa, Angoi Tosu, Chibana Chosin, and the Shuri-te founders. And you can see here, many of them are memorialized on this memorial here.
Okay.
So you can imagine that now we're at Shuri. So this area around here and you know, Shuri, if I move over here, there's Shuri Castle right behind me. I don't know if you can see that in the camera. We'll walk over there. But this is where the royal, the governmental royal activities would have taken place. So in Naha, of course, it was a port city, so we had ships coming and going, we had trade coming and going, you had foreigners coming in and out, transactions occurring there. But here is where you would have had Chinese emissaries coming in, you would have had the business of the royal family happening in this area here. You would have had the guards of the royal family. Not far from here is Shikina Inn, which is where the royal gardens would have been, where the Okinawan king family would have hosted Chinese visitors. And sorry, I know the wind's a little rough. I'm going to try and move here so I can block a little bit of it. And so the karate that developed here, and it eventually became, you know, Shorin-ryu, Matsubayashi-ryu, Shorinji-ryu, and Gichin Funakoshi Shotokan in Japan. It would have developed here through different influences on the martial art that was here. And so this is where you would have found shurite, and it would have developed up in this area here. So we'll walk around a little bit and point some places out. All right.
Yeah, it is. Wait, which way do I need to go out of here? I feel like I need to go left. Okay.
When you are.
Okay, so for all the Shorin-ryu people, and of course I'm a Shorin-ryu practitioner, this is kind of a special site. We're now about half a mile away from where we were over in Sakugawa Park at the Sakugawa and the Shurite Memorial, where we just were last. And now we've just come a few little ways down the road. It's kind of a neat location, but this is the memorial to Chibana Chosin. He used to teach, one of his dojos, schools, was in the community center, which is right behind us in the Yamakawa area. This place here is really was a hotbed, or a very concentrated location of people who did shurite. Gichin Funakoshi is from this area, Yabu Kensu is from this area, Matsumura Sokon, and then now Chibana is not from this area. He's from and lived in Torihori, which is just around the corner, and but he had a dojo here. Keep in mind, we're only a couple hundred meters from Shuri Castle as well, so we're still in that immediate area surrounding Shuri Castle. Of course, Chibana's teacher, Anko Itosu, would have been a teacher over in the Shihangako, which is, again, just a few hundred meters away from us right here. So kind of a special place if you're a Shorin-ryu person. And so we wanted to come by and at least show you this location and give you an idea of some of the history here. And there's some kids over here playing a little soccer and having fun with us. So anyway, we'll take a look here. This is on the inside. Onigiri.